Hello and welcome to our virtual PLC. This is being taken place during the summer, so we will continue with a virtual PLC and look at some interventions that were taking place to help improve some reading levels. And we will continue on with our signature assessment project, and we will see the and plan for starting school in August of some steps we want to continue to take. Alrighty, so we were going to start with our table of contents. We have our agenda, problem statement, vision statements, articles, interventions, examples of work, pre- and post-assessment data, and our reflection. Our agenda. So first thing we will start with is a check-in and housekeeping. This is where we can look at our highs and lows of the weeks, some good things that are working and some things we need to continue to work on. And if we need time at the end, we can circle back around to that if they are not addressed. We will talk about our vision statement. We will also discuss our articles, interventions, examples of work, pre- and post-assessment data, and things that have been taking place in the classroom. We will look at our reflection and then next steps that we need to start in August when school returns. Alrighty, our vision statement. I know this is a little bit long, but just hang on in there with me. So, as a literacy specialist, my vision is to be a bridge builder, helping build a bridge and connecting the gaps. I plan to connect every student with the skills, supports, and confidence needed to become a successful independent reader and writer. I believe that closing the achievement gap begins with building strong collaborative partnerships with my colleagues and creating equitable opportunities for all learners. Together, we will use data-driven instruction, culturally responsive teaching practices, and consistent progress monitoring to ensure every and each student receives targeted support based on their individual needs. For my students, I promise to be your advocate and largest support system. I will work to make sure every voice, background, and strengths are reflected in our learning environment. I will celebrate all growth, no matter how big or how small, and push you to achieve more than you thought possible. By setting high expectations, providing meaningful feedback, and fostering a love for learning, I aim to help you reach your full potential and thrive both in and beyond the classroom. To my fellow educators, I am committed to being a collaborative partner and supporting data information, instruction, sharing research-based strategies, and advocating for professional growth that meet diverse needs of our classrooms. Together, we will close the achievement gap by ensuring every student receives rigorous, differentiated, and culturally responsive literacy instruction. All right, our problem statement. In my first grade classroom this year, we rotate students. We have 3 different classrooms, and we are grouped based on your reading instructional level. I had 24 students reading below grade level, ranging from a below A to a D. Students are not making the growth that I had hoped at this point in the year. My students struggle to understand and apply strategies they learn to help decode while reading during weekly running records. Taking a look at both of our articles this week, we can see that running records show the emphasis and neglects of our classroom reading programs and help us plan how to use this information to address student needs. Our next article shows that running records are the best way to analyze a student's reading behaviors. We need to remember that running records capture a child's thinking. All right, our intervention that took place. So, in our first intervention, this was completed over 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There are 4 stations, 2 teacher-led stations shown on the chart, and 2 student-led stations. During these student-led stations, they are working on iReady reading on their Chromebooks independently. So, on Monday's teacher-led station 1, which was usually myself, we will review sight words, do word work with students, introduce a new book and read it, and do a comprehension check at the end for understanding. During your teacher-led station 2, they reviewed the book and completed a writing prompt over the book they read. On Tuesday, we reviewed our sight words for the week, worked on some word work with students, introduced a new book and read it, and did a comprehension check for understanding. So each day, students were receiving a new book, new word work, a review of sight words, and a comprehension check in Station 1. In Station 2, students received a review of the book and a writing prompt over the book they read for that day. So that is what each day completed. Some books might have taken a little bit longer than others, but mostly students were able to get finished within that one day. There are 5 to 6 students in every group. So let's look at our Intervention 2 with modifications. Alrighty, so Intervention 2 with modifications. We had noticed that in Intervention 1, students were not making the progress that they needed to achieve and apply those decoding strategies into their books during weekly running records. So we changed up groups just a little bit. As you can see, the highlighted areas are the new modifications. So now in Station 1, you are still reviewing sight words, but now we are going to focus on the reading strategy to apply. We introduce a new book, read it, comprehension, and check for understanding. So we are focusing on how to apply that reading strategy in that book. Then Station 2, we review the sight words at the beginning, focus on the reading strategy to apply. So each group has one specific reading strategy they are applying all week. Since there are different groups, there are different reading strategies they focus on depending on their FMP level. So if needed, we will focus on reading the reading strategy to apply and finish the book from day 1. Now, here's the difference in Station 2. Station 2 is now doing word work. That was at Station 1 with your teacher-led. Now it is at Station 2 with your teacher-led. You are completing word work, reviewing the book, then writing prompt. So we are hoping to apply those word work into our writing prompts in the same station. That is the same on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we're reviewing sight words again, focusing on the reading strategy to apply, introduce a new book and read it, comprehension, check for understanding. In Station 2, you are still doing that word work, you're reviewing your book, and you're doing that writing prompt. Now, on Thursdays, this looks a little bit different. So we are going to review our sight words, focus on the reading strategy from the week, so focusing on how we can apply it still. We're going to reread/finish the second book. Then we're going to do a comprehension and check for understanding. And now Station 2, this is when you are completing that weekly running record. If they do not get done on Thursday, that is okay. We can also finish them on Friday. All right, so our first group, they were a level A. As you can see in March, which is your first right here at the end of March, that's your first picture. It is the running record of a student. You can see he says, I am play. I am run. I am cat. I am swinging. I am sad. So this student is not looking at those visual aids to help. They are just guessing. After focusing on those visual aids, we did another running record at the end of April. Meanwhile, running records were taking place weekly, but we wanted to compare the first and the last running record. So now you can see that on page 4, when the student started, they started I, and then they came to where they didn't know. So the teacher told them C, and the student finished a puppy. Super proud of the student. And on page 5, they didn't remember that sight word again though, but that's okay. That teacher gave it to him. And then he came to that word rabbit. And he thought, oh, looked at the picture, bunny. So still using that visual aid, but then when he came over, he noticed it did not start with that B. So then he looked and remembered, oh, it's a rabbit. So the student continued on. He self-corrected lion and went to lizard. Looking at those pictures, you can see on page 7, I see a he looked at that visual aid that he had, and then mouse. So super proud of that student. Alrighty, so we have two of our groups are on the same level. They are on a level C. Super proud of them. At the end of March, they were on a level C. By the end of April, they moved to a level D. So moving that level, super proud of them. You can see some examples of work that they are focusing on. They are not going back and rereading. So that was our strategy where we were focusing on going back and rereading. You can tell in this first running record, there was no going back and rereading. Now, if we look at the end of April, there are lots of opportunities the student went back and reread, and he self-corrected or went back and reread to check for understanding. So super proud of this student as well. Alrighty, examples of work for our group 4. This group actually moved from a D to an E from the end of March to the end of April. So you can see this one as well. We are working on stretching those words out. So the words they do not know, stretching them out and seeing how that goes. At the the end of March, there was no stretching out for unknown words. And then at the end of April, the student stretched out and applied lots of literacy skills that he knew. I'll scoot to the side so you can see this little last running record. So super proud of this kiddo as well. Our pre-assessment data, you can see at that says end of February. That should be the end of March. We only had 2 students in group 1 that were using visual aids, 1 student in group 2 that was going back and rereading, only 2 students in group 3 going back and rereading, and then 1 student in group 4 stretching it out. Alrighty, so comparing the end of March to the end of April, you can see all the growth that these students have made. Super proud of them. I'll go back and give you a second to look at that. So in 2 of our groups, we had all students master that reading skill. And group 3, we only had 1 student not master it. And then group 2, we had 2 students not mastering it. So the students that are not mastering it, we will still work on explicit instruction in that. Alrighty. Our reflection. So our pre-assessments indicate 1 to 2 students were applying the reading strategies when reading independently. After completing the interventions with modifications and adjusting the teaching focus to specifically on the strategies, 4 to 6 students were able to apply the reading strategy independently. After meeting as a team to discuss, look over data, and ask questions, our goal for the next year is to start out with explicit instruction to use reading strategies to help students decode and comprehend their reading. So, starting in August, that is our plan with our new students going to be first graders. One fact of limitation would be completing running records all students weekly. So one of our limitations is completing all the running records in one day. Right now it is doable due to having a second teacher in there for reading groups. If reading groups is limited a teacher, we will only have 1 teacher-led station, which we would not be able to finish all running records and teach all groups in one day weekly. So next step, starting in August, we will have explicit instruction on reading skills, strategies, and how to apply them when reading when we get to those books. During summer, teachers will continue to go to PD trainings and help guide their teaching for small group reading. So we will continue to attend PDs. We just finished up one for our new phonics, and we will continue to go to trainings to help improve our small group reading instruction and how we can apply those literacy skills in the students' reading. Thank you so much.